Hello all, welcome back. In this video, we are going to look at storage security. And if you look at the overview of this lesson, we will start looking at what are the options available at storage security and what are shared access signatures and how to configure those shared access signatures and the components like URI and SAS parameters in constructing those signatures and a demonstration of the SAS. The second part of this video, we will look at what is storage service encryption and options to provide customer managed keys and some of the best practices of SAS. And finally, we will see a demonstration with Azure Storage Explorer. If we talk about storage security, there are multiple options available like storage service encryption, that is on the server side, and coming to the authentication part, we can, instead of using the master key, we have the option to use Azure Active Directory integration as well as a part of role based access control, so that you don't need to expose keys to anyone. And this helps in providing the right access to the right people. Say for example, if some people needs to have read access, we can provide just the read access for them. And in addition, if we want to integrate some application, we can take leverage of managed identities as well. And other part is the client side encryption part. A- And if we force to use HTTPS and SMB 3.0 with encryption, this will ensure the data is encrypted at transit. So from the client side perspective, we will always send the data in a secure way. From the server side part, we have options of Azure Disk Encryption. That means the data will be always encrypted at rest. So we are ensuring both encryption in transit and the encryption at rest. And in addition, while providing access to others, we are ensuring that we will provide right role based access control based on Azure Active Directory instead of exposing the entire keys. So these are some of the options which we have currently, and in addition to that, we still want to expose a particular service or the entire access through delegation. We have options of what we call shared access signature, or in short as SAS. Basically what SAS does is that it generates a shared encrypted signature or a shared key, and this key will take some of the parameters as input, and it provides access to some of the functionalities in which we choose. And this is a way of exposing access to users who are not in Azure Active Directory. So it enables limited permissions for anonymous access. If we look at shared access signatures in detail, it's a way of providing delegated access to the resources. So we don't really need to share the master key of the storage account, but still the clients can access the uh, storage resources in a secured way. And there are two types of shared access signatures or SAS available. One is what we call account SAS, and the second is what we call service SAS. So account SAS typically delegates the access to any of the services which the storage account provides, either it be blob, queue, or table, or a file service. So if you just create a single account SAS, the client can access any of the services which is single account SAS. And whereas for service SAS, we need to create separate SAS signatures for accessing each of the individual service. So if we have service SAS created for blob storage, we can just access only the blob storage. And if we want to access the file service, we have to create service SAS for the file service. So if we look at configuring SAS parameters, if we see the picture in this slides, so we have options to choose the permissions, either it be read or write, and we have options to choose the start time and the expiry time. And if we want to limit it to particular clients or IP addresses, we can choose that. And we have the options to choose the protocol, and we can choose the signing key as well. And based on the signing key, it is generating the SAS. So this can be done both at portal and at PowerShell or CLI as well, or even from client SDKs like .NET. So the way which is shown in the picture is what we call account level SAS, and it has full permissions to all the services, and we can choose the services as well. We will see in the demonstration, but we can use some of the commandlets as well, like new EAZ storage account SAS token, and we can use that commandlet and create it from PowerShell experience as well. And for creating just blob SAS token, we can use new EAZ storage blob SAS token. Instead of the account SAS token, we can use blob SAS token, and we can create blob level SAS from the PowerShell. So if we typically look at a complete URI, we have two different components. One is the storage resource location or the identification, and second is what we call SAS token. So the URL which is provided as part of slide shows we have what we call mycount.blob.core.windows.net, and that is the reference to the entire storage account. So here we are trying to create the account SAS, and after that we are using the REST type is service. So typically it is the service SAS, not the account SAS. And there are additional parameters like service, version, and what are all the permissions available, and what are the resource type we can use, what is the start time, expiry time of the SAS URL, and what are the permissions which we need to use, and if we want to restrict some of the IPs, what are those IP ranges, and the protocol versions, whether we need to allow HTTPS or HTTP as well, and finally a signature generated. This is a typical structure of the shared access signature. Now we will see a demonstration from Azure portal how to create account SAS and the service SAS. Now we are looking at Azure portal, and I'll go to the storage account, and under the storage account settings section, we have what we call shared access signature. And since we are trying to create shared access signature at the storage account level, this is an account level SAS. Here we have options to choose the services in which we want to allow this SAS. So for example, I can allow this for blob, file, and let's say table. We can just generate a single SAS, and all these three services which we have selected will work. And we can choose the allowed resource types as well, either the container or the object or the particular service, and we can choose the permissions. So here we can allow just let's say read, write, delete, add. So we'll just uncheck the update, and we can choose the start and end time as well. So currently I did from 11th of August, and the end time I can choose it until 13th of August, and I can choose current time zone, and I don't want to restrict to specific IP addresses, and I have options to choose both protocols. So at the moment I can enable everything, and finally I need to choose the signing key. So if we want to revoke this access, the only way to revoke is by regenerating this particular sign key. So if I choose key 1, I need to regenerate the key 1, make this SAS void. So the best practice is use storage access policies, but from Azure portal we don't have this capability. So currently I can create a connection string, and if you look at it, it has displayed the output in multiple format. So you can get it as a connection string format, or just a SAS token, or the entire pointer to the storage account, and the SAS URL as well for blobs or the files or the tables. Since we have chosen three services, we get three different URLs. This is what we call it as account SAS. And next thing is what we call services. In this case, let's look at blob storage, and under that we have the container. So here we have options to generate SAS for the particular, let's say, storage account or blob. So if we create a shared access signature from the blob, it is a type of what we call services. Here I can choose the read permissions, and I can choose the timings as well, and I can choose the protocols, and I can choose the SAS. And what we get is again a blob SAS token and the entire URL, and this will work only for the blob. So next, switch back to our presentation and look at what is storage service encryption. Storage service encryption is a way of encrypting data at rest, and it protects our data using a AES 256 bit encryption, and the encryption is a transparent way that like it automatically encrypts and decrypts without any additional steps. Only thing we need to do is that need to ensure that this is enabled. But for the storage account which is created quite recently, we don't have options to disable it and it is enabled automatically. And since this is transparent, we don't need to do anything to encrypt or decrypt from services. Let's say if we are using other services, we don't need to do anything, make encryption decryption works. So we can just enable this and it will work in a transparent way. And we have options to use our own keys as well. So in case if customer wants to bring their own storage encryption key, they can do that. So the advantage of customer managed keys is, let's say, due to regulatory purposes or split key controls, customer want to manage the keys separate, they can use this functionality. So we have options to enable use your own key option, and we have different options available. Either we can use our encryption key URI, or we can use an Azure Key Vault as well. So in case if we try to use Azure Key Vault, so we can create our own encryption key in the Key Vault, and we can point our Key Vault in the storage service encryption. So there are Azure Key Vault APIs which allows us to generate the keys as well. We can use those APIs to generate the keys, and this gives us more flexibility in how we are going to manage the keys. So let's say in case if I want to roll these keys every quarter, we can options as well. So if we look at some of the best practices with storage security, we'll we need to always enable HTTPS, create SAS and distribute SAS, and Azure always recommends to use storage service policies, access policies wherever possible. And when we are choosing the start time and end time, please be precise on when we need to enable access, whether it is from today to some X days or in a future date. We are using clients like .NET SDKs. We can allow them to automatically renew the SAS if necessary instead of providing access to, let's say, 1 year. And be specific with what we are choosing, either go with account SAS or the service SAS based on the requirements. If we just want to access only one service, we should choose the service SAS for that service instead of going ahead with the blanket account SAS. And whenever there is an usage with storage account, there will be a charge associated with it. So for example, if we have generated an account SAS and we have shared it with the users, and for some reasons if there are large amount of activity using those SAS, that will be billed as part of our Azure billing. So make sure the cost involved before creating and sharing such signatures. And whenever a client writes some data using SAS, We need to validate the data and don't always assume that that is the correct one or the trusted one. And last but not the least, we need to use storage analytics to monitor the usage, and if it is high usage, we need to review whether we have done it right. So now we will look at a demonstration using Storage Explorer. So currently we are looking at Azure Storage Explorer, and to generate an account level shared access signature, we can select the right storage account and we can right click, and there is an option for get shared access signature. And if we choose this, we have options again similar to what we have seen in portal. We can choose the start time and the expiry time. Let's change some of the timings, and we can choose the time zone as well, and the set of permissions which we want to allow. Here it's chosen as read and list. Apart from that, we can't write anything, and we can choose the services as well. At the moment, choose everything, and the resource types as well. And once we click on create, we get the options for the connection string and the shared access signature as well. So now if we want to access the resources using the shared access signature, so we can go to account management, and under that we can add an account. And here instead of choosing add an account Azure account, we can use different options, either using a connection string or use a SAS URI. So let's go with using the connection string. And we can choose a display name for this connection string, and we can use the connection string which we have just generated. And we click on next, it will show the connection summary. And once we click on connect, we should be able to see the particular storage account is accessed using the SAS connection string. So if we look on the local and attached section under the storage account, we are able to see the storage account successfully, and can use this access our resources. Say for example, under the container 1, we can see all the files which we have uploaded, and we will be able to read this. But when we are trying to upload it here, we will get an error because we have just created the connection string only to read the files. This is how we can generate an access using shared access signature, and that's all for this video. Thank you.